Hey, it's Tussing Talia. Get it? Anyway, I'm helping this lazy shithead motherfucker over here for the time being. So just relax and enjoy the upcoming stories. Oh, and he definitely didn't force me to say this, but subscribe. Or else I'll personally make sure that you stub your hairy left toe in the next 3 days. Okay, babes?
Hey, I wouldn't risk it if I was you. Giggity giggity goo.
Yesterday I had my first DXM trip, which was really quite an interesting experience. It inspired me to research the drug and to share the details of my probably mundane trip. First off, I'm 230 pounds, or 105 kilograms, and took a 3-part dose for a total of 1,062 milligrams, approximately 9.5 milligrams per kilogram, putting me right in the middle of the third plateau doses. My experiences are consistent with what DXMverse has down for this plateau. Third plateau, 7.5 to 15 milligrams per kilogram. This level has strong intoxications and hallucinations. Things can become very confusing as your thinking processes are disturbed. You can sometimes haze off into your own world and get lost in your own mind. Trips in this plateau can sometimes be unpleasant. What follows is the basic chronology of my experience, which I'll discuss more in depth afterwards. 4:10 p.m. Took 6 fluid ounces of Robitussin maximum strength, 15 mg DXM per 5 ml, or 531 mg of DXM. 4:15 p.m. Dry mouth with a tingling, unpleasant taste. 4:20 p.m. Noted tingling in extremities with numb fingertips, psychosomatic. 4:30 p.m. Vision increasingly sluggish, especially when moving my head around. Lightheadedness and slight nausea noted. 5:10 p.m. Strong lightheadedness, pronounced tunnel vision, euphoria. 5:20 p.m. Finished 8 fluid ounces of a 15 mg per 5 ml DXM bottle for a combined total of 708 mg of DXM. 5:25 p.m. I blame this on the already present neurological effects, but at this point I took another 4 fluid ounces of 15 mg per 5 ml DXM bottle. That is an additional 354 mg, for a final total of 1,062 mg of DXM. In hindsight, I see taking this large of a dose on my first trip as irresponsible, and would advise others against it. 5:45 p.m. Increasingly euphoric. Everything around me seems to be more pronounced, visually, and I decide to take up a walk in the afternoon park. As I stand up, I promptly collapse back into my chair, realizing that I won't be able to walk. I'm extremely dizzy and my vision seems to be lagging behind by a lot. I instead open iTunes and start an Undane Budovar Enya Hooverphonic Moby Spangle Trishna playlist. 6 p.m. Everything around me is gradually becoming distorted. Lines are becoming wavy and I keep tilting my head from side to side as such subtle changes result in a radically different perception of the 3D world around me. It also seems as though my 2 eyes are no longer synchronized. I don't quite know how to describe this, but I experience vision differently for the following few hours, almost as though my 2 eyes reported stimuli individually. The reports of these stimuli were never merged into a single image. It wasn't like a double vision, in which 2 sets of visual stimuli are merged but are offset. I was literally experiencing vision through both eyes, separately. 6:10 p.m. I feel as though I'm melting into my chair. I become somewhat unaware of my body, as my thoughts float in no particular direction. I can't fully recall the specific details of the trip from here until a few hours later, but I do recall a growing appreciation for the music that I had been listening to. I had earlier read that DXM users report this effect, so I may have been expecting it with the possibility of psychosomatic confirmation bias, but I definitely enjoyed the effects that the music at least seemed to have on me. At this point, I noticed that my face was entirely numb. 6:15 p.m. I began hallucinating at this point. My first hallucination was close-eyed and exceedingly abstract. I saw myself, from a third-person perspective, as an eagle flying above a geometric background. It was very cartoonish, reminded me of the wall, and I melded into what appeared to be the third reach eagle. I had been unconsciously spreading my arms outward, which apparently disturbed my roommate next to me who was cooking dinner. I hadn't told him that I would be taking DXM, and a remark brought me back into this world as I opened my eyes. As I looked at him, I stared blankly and had no idea what this foreign intruder wanted. I was subconsciously trying to snap out of it, but I continued to stare with my arms spread out, at which point he must have turned back to his ramen, as I don't remember anything else about interacting with him. 6:20 p.m. I noticed the powerful effect that moving my arms around me had, and put myself back into my previous hallucination by spreading my arms outward again and closing my eyes. This time, it was less abstract and more vivid, and I believe it was either in the first-person perspective or not from any specific perspective at all. I seemed to simply experience it without a necessarily distinguishable point of view. I am in space, soaring between celestial bodies and through clouds of stellar dust, totally separated from any previous notions of self. I'm overcome by an incredible feeling of well-being and am unaware of my physical manifestations for a good deal of time. Every beat of the music was like a pang of orgasmic perfection. My hallucination synchronized itself eerily with what I was listening to. A desk fan was blowing in my face the whole time, which felt immensely pleasurable. 7:10 p.m. I open my eyes and everything is still very distorted. My dry mouth must have become a lot worse, although I didn't experience the sensations in my mouth in those terms. There was a bottle of water sitting next to me, but it seemed to be in a different reality. I was staring at it for what must have been quite some time, but I simply couldn't bring myself to reach out and grab it. I can't describe what was going on in my mind at that point, other than I felt disconnected from the reality around me. I closed my eyes and continued to trip, although I don't recall any of it. I was aware of my arms moving though, usually being held outwards or clenched to the back of my head. 8 p.m. I lapsed out of whatever dream world I had been in at this point, and went online to report my experiences thus far on some online web forum. I found typing coherently unusually difficult and time-consuming, and soon gave up out of frustration. I got up to relieve myself in the bathroom, which was difficult as I was still extremely dizzy with intense tunnel vision. Aware of the distorted mirror effect cliche of tripping, I took some time to stare at myself in the mirror. While I wasn't aware of any hallucinations, it was an emotionally powerful state. I was staring at myself and thinking about what my life is about, what my purpose on this earth was, and if thinking in terms of purpose was legitimate at all. Quite the science-worshipping nihilist when sober, I was surprised by the decidedly metaphysical and even theological framing that my mind applied to such trains of thought. 8:10 p.m. Back on my computer, I felt like experiencing similar hallucinations while listening to music, to which I had strong emotional connotations. After seeing how deeply the music I had been listening to affected my state of mind, I loaded up a playlist of Bob Marley, The Byrds, CCR, Crosby, Still Nash and Young, Dire Straits, with some of Mark Knopfler's solo work, The Eagles, and the Moody Blues. 8:15 p.m. I must have been past the peak effect at this point, because I didn't experience any fully detached hallucinations like I had between 6 and 8 p.m. I closed my eyes and saw various childhood memories being played out before me, all in ecstatic yet tragically nostalgic haze, but I was aware of my own physical consonance for the duration. I was getting very emotional and felt as though my life was a terrible waste. Aware of my previous history of depression, I was consciously changing where my trains of thought would lead me this time. This conscious involvement was frustrating, and I felt like all I wanted to do in the world at that point was simply let go. If the DXM were still at its full effect, I think I would have. After going through my whole childhood in a half-dreaming state of mind, I again lapsed out and felt a significantly diminishing effect of DXM. I again tried to type out my experiences in the web forum, to a similarly frustrating failure as the previous attempt, and resolved to carry a more informal conversation with whoever might be on AOL Instant Messenger. My friend, in whom I generally confide psychedelic experiences, wasn't online, and after starting a conversation with another friend, I started to feel disconnected from the world again. I was aware of my state of mind being totally different from that exhibited by who I was talking with, and decided that I was wasting my time trying to interact in a world in which I wasn't truly present. 9:45 p.m. After spending more time browsing YouTube and listening to music with my eyes closed, enjoying what were by then nothing more than abstract and geometric closed-eyed visuals, I resolved to lie down in my bed. Again, I was extremely dizzy and actually stumbled into my roommate's chair, who at this point must have realized I was tripping. After crisscrossing my room, I finally made it into my bed and felt very warm, feverish even, and I wasn't able to go to sleep for a while. I also had a notable stomach discomfort again. 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. I spent a while enjoying the closed-eyed visuals, which were constantly morphing. The most notable of these began as a morphing three-dimensional world that reminded me a lot of the print on the back of bicycle playing cards. It was interesting to see how more and more realized patterns emerged out of the simplest patterns, and I soon was seeing a colossal scarab beetle walking through this strange world, like a gigantic machine. At some point I drifted off to some of the best sleep I ever had. After effects, the next day. I woke up the following morning feeling extremely good, better than I have after waking up in several years. It was beyond well rested, which certainly was a factor. However, as I rarely sleep that much, everything seemed to radiate intense beauty and happiness, and I had an unusually positive outlook on the day. At around 7 p.m. in the evening, I noted stomach discomfort, which was quickly followed by explosive diarrhea. I'm not quite sure what caused this, as I never read anything about diarrhea in the many trip recollections that I had read. Overall, I enjoyed my first DXM experience. It was an interesting drug that in sufficient doses can really take me into a different world. I'm also afraid of its toxicity and the potential for psychological dependence. However, and will err on the side of caution around it, the most powerful effect for me was the way that music was incorporated into my own reality. I need to stress the word reality, because I was truly in a different reality around peak times of my experience. Everything that I had ever thought and been felt distant. The intense feeling of well-being and general euphoria, happiness, were also, needless to say, thoroughly enjoyable. I think it's an effective dissociative that will provide both intriguing distant perspectives and a chance to leave the world entirely for a few hours.